Today, we're going to talk about how typical business owners should solve problems.
Absolutely. If you're a business owner or a leader struggling to achieve the success that you want from your business, stay tuned, because we're going to teach you why most leaders fail to get real traction and solve real problems inside their business.
Woo, exciting stuff. Let's get to it.
We've all had a bad boss, right? And truthfully, some days we probably are bad bosses. But I have this foundational belief, Joe, that most bad bosses really don't mean to be sort of horrible, terrible bosses, right? Nobody goes to work thinking, I want to be awful today, right?
Today I'm going to make Jordan's life miserable. Let's go.
I really just think that they don't have a system to sort of manage in a way that's productive for them and their team. Because, when we go into an organization and we're sort of asked to fix things, there's sort of these universal truths for most business owners that reach a certain scale. They get asked way too many questions. They're constantly putting out fires, and they're spending too much time, quote unquote, managing. Instead of leading, instead of sort of setting a path. And I know in our own business, I'm guilty of this some weeks. And it's really, really frustrating, because you know where you should be spending your time, but you can't get there, right? So, we sort of wrote out a list of what an average owner or leader's problem-solving process looks like. So let's talk about that for a second, Joe.
Yeah. So the first one, what we believe the process should be is very first recognize the symptoms, right? Why are you experiencing an adverse situation that you don't want to be experiencing, either as a business leader or as a business?
Yeah, and anybody who's ever been sick, which is everybody, knows that symptoms are not always the real problem. They're typically, they sort of lead you to the real problem, but they sort of manifest themselves differently. And that's what sort of separates a good boss from a bad boss is they tend to focus on the symptoms. And as soon as they detect a symptom, they decide on tactics. They're going to immediately go fix that one symptom, right? They get straight to the most granular thing first. Honestly, that's sort of counterproductive, because solving for symptoms means you're not solving for real problems.
Yeah, which means all you're doing, and you're exactly right when we say tactic, it's the difference between strategy and tactics, is they either throw money, throw tactics, or throw people at the problem and just expect that to fix it. And that's usually the third thing that we always talk about is, they hire or assign a person to fix it without giving a lot of direction or without instructing that individual on what the overarching strategy should be. Instead, it's here's a hole in the boat, go plug it, and then watch that hole and let me know if that plug pops out, right?
Yeah, and there is no sort of vision for what the world looks like when it's done. There really is just, hey, go fix this, go slap a Band-Aid on this bleeding neck, and we're gonna hope that fixes it. Yeah. Ultimately, and we've all been there as leaders, the neck keeps bleeding. It seeps out from underneath that Band-Aid you slapped on it, and it just drives you crazy. And before you know it, you're yelling, you're frustrated, and the person that you sort of threw at the problem has no idea what they should be doing next, because they did everything that you told them to do.
Yeah. You're not, as a leader, you're not painting a picture of what success looks like. You're just saying, fix this failure, and that's it. And going back to your health analogy, if you had a temperature, sure, you can just cover your face in ice. That might help that one, but the overarching symptom is not going to go away, which leads to the next thing, which is the person that you put in charge of fixing that problem, they get frustrated. They get discouraged. They quit. Even worse than that, they stay on and poison the well for everybody else. because they're frustrated that they can't fix the problem because you didn't give them the tools that they actually needed to fix that issue.
Yeah, I mean, the best case scenario here is that they quit.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is that they stay and they do become that sort of poison pill and completely destroy any semblance of culture that you've built. Because once somebody has turned and is working actively against the organization inside the organization, I mean, that is like cancer. It is hard to stop, and the damage it has sort of long-term implications. And
we're talking about an individual person, but a lot of business owners we know too, and again, these are mistakes that we've made, so that's why we're talking, is you just throw money at it too. And now you've wasted all this money. You as a business owner or a leader of that department is frustrated. And often it's not the vendor's fault or the person's fault. It's again, going back that you didn't recognize what the actual issue was and you were just trying to solve symptoms.
Lastly, ultimately the problem doesn't get fixed. The symptom persists. Jake, our social media manager, has a really great quote that he likes to keep above his desk, that Band-Aids don't fix bullet wounds, right? You can slap a lot of Band-Aids on big problems, but ultimately those big problems find a way around those Band-Aid fixes. And it's going to end up right back in your lap to fix it again. And so you're stuck solving the same problem over and over and over again because you never got to the real problem and you never thought through a way to empower others to help you get a permanent fix in place. And really, it's this cycle. It's a vicious cycle that leads to a whole lot of burnout and a whole lot of frustration, not only for managers, leaders, business owners, but also for the people in their organization. And nobody wants to be a part of those organizations long term. You just can't build value there.
And it builds, like you said, it builds toxic relationships, which in turn builds a toxic culture. And it's not a very fun position to be in as a manager or a leader also. Yeah. Coming in knowing that, just no one is enjoying being there because the real problems underneath the surface aren't being addressed.
Well, and I mean, I know that we've sort of painted a dark picture here today, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is hope. We've created a sort of an antidote to the typical owner's problem-solving process, and we're going to talk a lot about that in the next episode. And so, stay tuned to the channel because there is a way to solve problems. There is a really simple recipe that honestly will let you solve some of the most complex problems in your business and really give you the freedom to do only the work you can do. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody that needs to hear this. And like Pat said, stay tuned. The rest of this week, we're going to be talking about what our process is for making sure that the dark cloud and scenarios that we just talked about don't happen. And then for an entire month, we're going to step through each step of the process so that at the end of this, you'll have a roadmap for how to make sure the issues that we described don't happen in your business. So stay tuned. We're excited to share this with you. Pat, until next time, peace, peeps.